Well, good morning. Welcome to Buddha's in Your Landfill. In the morning I have coffee. In the evening we have a martini together. So let's take a look at our moments of Zen. I think we're still talking about Buddha's in the landfill, but since I've been using these haiku by Basho, we're really looking at moments of Zen. And what is the Zen mind? What is a Zen moment? Remember, John Stewart kept talking about moments of Zen. So what is a moment of Zen? What is the Zen mind? What is Zen? And what good is it? So yesterday we'll recap a little bit. We were talking about we talked about the haiku, the bright harvest moon keeps me walking all night long around the little pond. And we talked about finding a harvest moon in your little pond being your everyday mind, your everyday life, your backyard, your hometown, your family, your relationships. What is the harvest moon in your little pond? Can you find it? Can you see it? So we're looking into how we see, and harvest meaning the moon that brings the harvest, the moon that brings the bounty, the moon that brings the fruit of your labor, the harvest moon. So we're looking for the harvest moon in our little pond. How do we see it, you see? All the time, not just once in a while, not in the future, but always now. So this is our quest here. We were looking into that yesterday, and we're going to pick it up today. With a new haiku that opened up my morning. I come down in the morning with an empty mind. I got nothing, nada, a blank. And I open up a haiku, and boom, a talk blooms. So the haiku this morning was awakened at midnight by the sound of the water jar cracking from the ice. Awakened at midnight by the sound of the water jar cracking by the ice. This reminded me of my wife's grandmother's house. I'm getting an itch in my nose. Which was an old farmhouse, and in the old farmhouses here in Virginia, there's no heat upstairs. In fact, there's no heat upstairs in this house. And I remember spending the night there, and it was probably the coldest night I've ever spent in my life. The quilts were so thick, these were old quilts, and they were so heavy that you got in bed, you couldn't move. It was like having cinder blocks laid on you, and you tried to get that little place in there warm, and the room was freezing at night, and so there was no, I don't recall a water jar being there, but if there had been one, it would have cracked. But the point is with this haiku, awakened at midnight by the sound of the water jar cracking from the ice. You can just imagine what that would, when you wake at midnight and you're saying, what is that sound? And there's this unusual sound in the room, and you lie there listening to it, not knowing what in the world it is. It's dark, and gradually, maybe you turn the light on, or it dawns on you the water jar is freezing. Boom. And as soon as you name it, then it's, oh my God, the water jar, the thing's freezing. There's going to be water all over the floor. Who's going to clean it up? I got to get out of bed. Oh, geez, or I won't have any water in the morning. But before it's named, before you know what it is, you're in a Zen zone. Okay, you're in a Zen zone where nothing is named. So there's mystery. And you're very intently listening to it. There's nothing in there but the sound. If you notice in this haiku, he doesn't say, I was awakened at midnight. When he says, I was awakened at midnight, now you got the namer, and you've got he's awakened by the cracking of the ice. You see, so as soon as you name something, guess who wakes up? The namer. But before something is named, before you know what it is, you're just all ears. You're just listening. What is it? And there's nobody there. You are not there until you name it. So this is why we have to name things. Have you noticed that when we forget the name of something, there's an intention. What is that name? There is a tension, there is an anxiety that we have to name it. Oh God, what is that person's name? I have to name it, you see. Or if there's anything that, well, remember the Space Odyssey, 2001? The black obelisk appeared and it had no name. It had no reference to the known world. The apes didn't know what it was. The astronauts didn't know what it was. Whenever it appeared, it moved evolution along. But the moment it appeared, that was a Zen moment. It was not named. And it created a openness, a mystery, an emptiness. But as soon as it was named, the namer comes up. I come up. So I, as the namer, and the named rise together, you see. Like, I don't have my thing here. They rise together, you see. But until it's named, there is no namer. And this creates, for the namer, I know when the name will rise, when I know that it's the cracking sound of the ice, as soon as I know what the sound is, I know who I am. I'm the namer, and when I name that sound as the cracking of the water pitcher, I am put into place. You see, we're both placement. The name and the namer are placemats. Doesn't matter what I name it, as long as I know what it is. Then I know who I am, because I have just created it. But before, there is nobody, there is no namer there. And that is Zen. It's before name and form. So, my little thing here, so as soon as I named the cracking sound as the water jar, there's an oh my God, there's going to be water on the floor and all that. But prior to the naming, there is nobody there. It's just this sound. And you can imagine the sound of the water jar cracking slowly, piercing the night, the cold night, you know. No other sound, just that, you see. And so you can get the feeling of being present. You can get the feeling of being totally present. Not naming the sound, but as the sound. This is a different awareness that is sleeping in us. The awareness as. When there is awareness as the sound, or when you see a flower blooming and you go, there is awareness as the flower, but as soon as you say, oh, that's a jonquil, well, let's cut that and put it in a vase, and that's not as pretty as the other jonquils that she had in her yard. I got to get some better jonquils, and we're off in the name and form, you see. And as soon as I name that jonquil, I'm off in the known world, and I am Adam. You see, the myth of Adam in the Garden of Eden is that Adam named everything. You know, and so we're all Adam, basically. When we're born, we are, before Adam, we don't know anything. We don't know any names, and we learn the names. Our mother instructs us on what is this. This is a marker. You don't write it on your face. You use it on the board. We learn everything and its function, and everything is in place, you see. And so we become Adam. And we forget the awareness of that is prior to the garden. We forget who we were before Adam was born. We forget who we are before that ours. That's still there. It's not like in the past. The self or the awareness before Adam is still present, and it arises once in a while when we encounter something that has no name. And right away, we are driven to name it and bring it into the known, you see. Because when I bring it into the known, I bring myself up as known again, too. So I am known by definition. You see what I mean? The name and the form. What the little guru here asked our little split mind self, what is your name before the cracking was born? Okay, so we're back to the haiku, and we're lying in bed, and there is nobody there. They're awakened at midnight. There's no I there. That is, I was not awakened because this sound happened before I was born. So there is just the sound of the cracking in the water pitcher, and there is not I'm lying there listening to it. There is just the sound in this infinite cosmic space of just the sound. Prior to, by defining the sound, and as soon as I define the sound, oh, that's the water jar cracking, that definition comes from my memory. I know that there's a water jar there. What if there wasn't a water jar there? See, so I would not have any reference to it, but the definition of the sound is reference to my memory of a water jar. So everything we know is reference to the past, which is in my memory, in my storehouse of the known. So we all have this storehouse of the known, where everything is defined, and everything we see is immediately reference to what I know, which is the past. So I never really see anything as it is, as its Zen presence is. I never see anything, because as soon as I see something, I know what it is, reference to my past, and then I know who I am in reference to that. You see how they come up together? So if I suspend knowing, and if I just lie there and listen to the sound prior to the definition of what it is, I am in the Garden of Eden before Adam named everything. And that is the present moment. That is Zen. That is the present moment, is always prior to our defining it. But we can't, but our culture won't let us live in that, because we live in a culture of thinking and the known and the namer. You see, so we name everything immediately. So we know it, and when you name it, you control it. You put it in its place. It's a good place or bad place. Fix it if it's in the bad place. Keep it if it's in a good place. But everything is named. Everything is divided into good and bad. And that's the apple, you see, that Adam ate. You know, once everything is named, you put it into good and bad things. But it's all reference to the past. And the reference to the past also means that I'm reference to the past. So I'm known. I know who I am because of my past. But I don't know who I am before I name the sound of the ice cracking the jar, you see. That, in Zen, that would be, who are you before your parents were born? That's a Zen koan. Well, who are you before the cracking was born? Namely, the cracking of the water jar. Who were you before that, you see? So this presence of awareness without being split into the namer and the it, you see, I and it. Now the it is a fill in the blank. The it is a water jar freezing, but there's an I there. So this I and it rises by a compulsion. By a compulsion that is conditioned by our culture. You have to have an I that names everything in it. Everything, we live in a world of its. Everything's an it. The I rises with the it, but we don't know who the I is, because the I, our real I, is before the it. You get what I'm trying to point to here? That my real self, my living self, is prior to the I and the it. And that's mysterious. So I don't know who I am, because there's no reference to me in the past. You see, I am alive now. If I am alive now, I am present now, and every now is entirely new. So every moment I am born again. You see, every moment I'm new. But I don't feel that because I reference myself to the past and the names and the forms, you see. And they upset because things don't fit, because there are wobbles and whatever. So this is really a great chiropractic moment, you see. Zen is like chiropractic of the mind. We're out of adjustment with the world, and we get a like that, and suddenly we're in sync with the world. Suddenly everything fits because we haven't named it. Now, this doesn't mean that Zen means you have to become going to dementia or Alzheimer's and you don't know where you are. No. We still know names and forms, and I got to catch a bus and who I am, and I got stuff to do and whatever that. But the ground that supports that I-it, you see, is prior to I-it and is the presence of awareness without a namer and a named. So the namer and the named is secondary, and awareness that has no name and form is primary. In our culture, the I-it is primary, and the universal awareness, or the Zen awareness, is put in the future. So we want to get to it. It's the promised land. It's peace. It's integration. It's wholeness, unity. That's thrown into the future, and so we trace it. But the Zen mind, or big mind, Zen mind, awareness mind, is present now, but we can't touch it. We can't be it because we're living in an I-it world of me and it, you see, which is a divided mind. I and it is two. And so I'm constantly in conflict with it's. Oh my God, this it's going to burn me. Or, oh, I really want to keep that it, you see. Or this it's annoying. Or I love this it. I want to have more of this it in the future. You know, so we're always in a dance with some it. And the it can be my own thinking or some object, you see. But prior to that is the unity of awareness as, which is awakened at midnight by the sound of a water jar cracking from the ice. So Zen is the awakened mind that is prior to, it leaps to the naming of everything and putting everything in place of the known. There's a suspension. There's a suspension of the known which allows beauty and wonder to rise. We all experience this. You come upon something and there's a, and immediately it becomes an it. Oh, look at that. And we take a picture of it. You see? We can't hold it open. We can't hold the Zen open. We can't hold the wonder open. We have to name it. Boom. And then we think about, oh, well, let's come back here tomorrow. Or I wish we could get to I got to come here on my vacation. You see, so all of these moments that are prior to the naming open and they close like that because we're of a compulsion. It's like algae coming over a pond. The culture has a compulsion to close the unknown, name it, control it, and have certainty again about who I am and what the world is all about. Well, a funny thing, just to share this much. So I've been bothered by, I have these little bottom teeth, this plate here, and so something had shifted and it was biting into my gums above my teeth, and I couldn't bite because, ow, ow, ow. So there was, oh God, I got to go to the dentist and have him fix it and all that, you know. So I accidentally dropped the little plate last night when I was putting it in the water, and the offending tooth, the tooth that was biting into my upper gum broke off. Oh, great, I don't have to go to the dentist now. Wobble removed, adjustment performed. So let that be our Buddha in the landfill and our Zen moment for this morning. And I'll see you this evening it's martini time. And I have no idea what we're going to talk about. I'll see you then.